Morning Year 11s, Happy New Year. Welcome to Citizenship. So today's lesson we are going to look at which organizations in particular do we have in the world, and especially in the international community that help countries. So who that help countries that are going through high levels of poverty, debt, famine, high levels of refugees, etc. So what kind of organizations today support with that? So who can help? The Do Not activity is for you to complete your low stakes test. The low stakes test is on the lesson document, which will be attached on the Google Classroom. So make sure you look at that and make sure you complete that low stakes test. And then after that, you are going to answer question 3. So Pump Aid is a charity that aims to bring clean water to poor countries. What do these images, so that image there in particular, and that image there in particular, what do these images show you about Pump Aid's work? So what kind of services do they provide? Why is it important? So what does it aim to do? What does it show you about Pump Aid? Okay, what does it show you? Okay, so have a really good look at that. What does it show you? What do Pump Aid and people that work for Pump Aid, what do they do in countries, especially poor countries? What do they do? Why is that important? What does that show you about them as an organization? Pump Aid, okay? Right. Make sure you answer that question on the worksheet that is going to be attached to the Google Classroom later on today. Make sure you do that. Thank you. All right, moving on. So today's lesson, we're going to develop an understanding of what a non-governmental organization is, or what non-governmental organizations are, and to understand the importance of why organizations need to collectively act during disasters. So the key words for today's lesson are non-governmental organizations, collective action, disaster, and support. Okay, so we need to make sure that by the end of this lesson, we know what these words mean, okay? Perfect. Moving on. So a non-governmental organization stands for sorry, let me repeat that. An NGO stands for non-governmental organization, okay? So, what does a non-governmental organization do? It aims to help people in difficulties such as refugees, people that are going through war, especially innocent people that are suffering through war, famine, and natural disasters. So people that are going through these horrible experiences of being a refugee, of experiencing war, death, natural disasters such as tsunamis, earthquakes, destruction to their lands due to natural causes. Non-government organizations support these people that go through it. Okay, so for example, Pump Aid that we looked at for the Dune activity provides clean water for people, especially poor people in poor countries that are refugees, or poor people that have had their homes destroyed due to natural disasters, or poor people or victims of war that really need water because their homes and their livelihood has been destroyed. Okay. NGOs do this to provide people human rights such as right to food, water, and education. So these are basic human rights which everyone should have. However, not everyone in the world, especially countries that are poor, don't have access to these human rights. So the NGOs, they aim to help people with these difficulties, and they aim to provide human rights for people all over the world, especially in countries that they go to where their human rights are being exploited. Moving on, so many NGOs and many non-governmental organizations are charities. Okay, charities are organizations that rely on donations and depend on donations to support their causes, to support what they believe in, and those that really need it. So, for example, a charity like City UK in this country works really hard with young people in deprived backgrounds. They depend on donations like NGOs to provide support to those young people. Okay, there's loads of different organisations and charities that we have in the UK, such as Cancer Research, Bullying UK, and NGOs are also charities like that support and depend on donations to support those in need, to support their causes. NGOs like UNICEF helps people whose lives have been shattered by war and natural disasters. Okay. So NGOs are charities. They really work hard. They go all over. Loads of NGOs go in different countries, and support people in need through the donations that they get from people who support that cause. All right. Shelterbox. So Shelterbox is a non-governmental organisation. Shelterbox provides emergency shelter and vital supplies to support communities coping with disaster and humanitarian crisis around the world. Humanitarian crisis, that means, when a crisis where you need people going into that country, you need organizations going into that country to deal with the problem that the country is facing. Okay, that's what humanitarian crisis is around the world. So really simple, Shelterbox, it goes into loads of countries around the world that need their support. Okay, a Shelterbox is made to meet the needs of every emergency. In each emergency, it might contain heavy-duty sheeting and tools to help people rebuild their homes. For those who have lost everything, their tents, cooking utensils, mosquito nets, and water purification equipment. To help keep life normal for children in these situations, there are school boxes with everything necessary for 50 children. So as you can see, these are the contents of a Shelterbox. So the organization Shelterbox itself, it provides these necessities to support families, support people that have experienced natural disasters, that have experienced war and humanitarian crisis. Okay, so have a look at that image. Okay, provides loads of different support. Okay, different utensils, for cooking. Okay, gloves. Okay, first aids. Mosquito nets. Tents, right there, tents. Provides tents so that people that have lost their homes can actually live and survive in those tents temporarily. Okay, before. All right, perfect. Moving on. Okay, so big check. So really important that you understand what these questions are and what the answers to these questions are. So really simple. What does an NGO stand for? You know what that is. An NGO is a non-governmental organization. Who do NGOs help? They help countries around the world that are in desperate humanitarian need, that desperately need help and support because they've experienced natural disasters or war or famine or debt. What do NGOs rely on to help others? They rely on donations and money from the public. What kind of support do NGOs provide? So they provide a variety of different types of support depending on the organization itself. NGOs are charities, okay, remember that. And why is that important? Because especially in countries that are very poor, especially in countries where there's high levels of debt, famine, natural disasters, war, refugees, they provide that support to support those people in need, so it makes and creates a better country, people, community, society, so that people are being supported, respected, and their rights are also being protected in the process. Okay. Alright, lovely. So, exam question is, explain 2 ways that an NGO supports LEDCs in desperate humanitarian need. That is your exam question for today, which I would like all of you to answer on that worksheet that will be attached to the Google Classroom. An LEDC is a less economically developed country, so a poor country. I'll give an example. So countries in Africa, like Nigeria, like Cameroon, countries in Asia, like India, like Pakistan and Sri Lanka, countries that are very, very poor. Explain 2 ways that NGOs support poor countries in desperate humanitarian need. Okay, so humanitarian need is when you're desperate for humanitarian need, it means that you need an organization, or you need someone going into your country to support your issues and problems. Okay, so explain 2 ways that NGOs provide support LEDCs that need support. That is what that question is asking you. How 2 ways that NGOs support LEDCs that really need help. Okay, so that's your exam question. On the screen now, I've given you a model point explain sentences for the 4-mark question. So one way that NGOs support LEDCs is by providing healthcare to people in poverty. And to explain that, this is important because it supports people that are feeling ill or sick, okay, to reduce the transmission of the illnesses and diseases as well, so people are not being exploited to it. Another way that NGOs support LEDCs is by providing and giving food, education, and shelter. For example, Shelterbox provides and gives food, education, shelter to families, to people in LEDCs that have experienced high levels of famine, natural disasters, or are in desperate humanitarian need. Okay, so that's me explaining it in a bit more detail for you. So I want you to really think about that question. Explain 2 ways that NGOs support LEDCs. How do they support LEDCs? And I want you to answer that question in a point explain, 4 sentences, paragraph, please. Lovely. So we've already looked at that. That's the big check. I want you to really reflect and think about what you've learned from today's lesson. Okay, take your time with this. Okay, really understand what NGO is. Really understand the work that they do. Okay, we have loads of NGOs around the world today that go into various countries, poor countries, and provide that humanitarian support and need. Provide those services like food, water, shelter, education, hospitals, loads of different services that we take for granted, unfortunately, for countries that need it. They rely on charity, they rely on donations to provide that support. So when we support it, when we donate, NGOs put that money towards their goals and towards those problems that countries face. And it's important because it ensures that people are being respected, people's rights are being respected, people who are experiencing poverty or horrible issues in their own homelands are being supported in the process, okay? Please make sure that you complete that worksheet that I've attached to the Google Classroom today, and make sure you complete it by Friday, please, and send it to me by email. All the information that you need will be on the Google Classroom post, so make sure you go through that and follow those steps, please. Have a lovely day. See you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.